childcare, government health care, cancellation of student debt, new tax.
Who is this economy really working for? It's doing great. Just not for the African Americans and Latinx whose families are torn apart, whose lives are destroyed, and whose communities are ruined. It's doing great for giant oil companies that want to drill everywhere. Just not for the rest of us who are watching climate change bear down upon us.
Well, first, the economy. We know that not everyone is sharing in this prosperity, and Donald Trump just sits in the White House and gloats about what's going on. When you have some, and my plan would be to, first of all, make community college free.
In that vein, some Democrats want a marginal individual tax rate of 70% on the very highest earners.
This economy has got to work for everyone. And right now we know that it isn't. Y necesitamos incluir cada persona en el éxito de esta economía. Necesitamos incluir cada persona en nuestro democracia. I would support a tax rate and a tax code that is fair to everyone. Tax capital
70%.
At the same rate that you tax ordinary income. Take that corporate tax. That this is actually an economy that's hurting small businesses and not allowing them to compete. One of the most aggressive bills in the Senate to deal with corporate.
3 women up here that have fought pretty hard for a woman's right to choose. So I'll start with that.
Forget someone in the trans community, a trans female, is poor doesn't mean they shouldn't have the right to exercise that right to choose. And so I absolutely would cover the right to have an abortion. More than that, everybody in this crowd and watching at home knows that in our country today, a person's right to choose is under assault in places like Missouri, in Alabama, in Georgia. I would appoint
Full range of reproductive health care services, and that includes birth control, it includes abortion, it includes everything for a woman. And
for what they do?
They should absolutely be held criminally liable because they are liable and responsible. This is one of the reasons why, well before I was running for president, I said I would not take contributions from pharma companies, not take contributions, not a single night in jail. Unless there's accountability and justice, this crisis.
I would sign an executive order that would get rid of Trump's zero tolerance policy, the Remain in Mexico policy, and the metering policy. And then I would follow that up in my first 100 days with immigration reform that would honor asylum claims, that would put undocumented immigrants as long as they haven't committed a serious...
Pues la situación ahora es inaceptable. Este presidente ha atacado, ha demonizado los inmigrantes. Es inaceptable. Voy a cambiar este. On day one, the ICE policies and the Customs and Border policies are violating the human rights. When people come to this country, that we reinstate DACA, that we reinstate pathways to citizenship for DACA recipients and to make sure
to go back to the way we used to treat this when somebody comes across the border, not to criminalize desperation, to treat that as a civil violation. All of this horrendous family separation, they use that law, Section 1325, to justify under the law separate.
The way that American citizens have been told that immigrants somehow created their misery and their pain and their challenges. For all the American citizens out there who feel you're falling behind, who feel the American dream's not working for you, the immigrants didn't do that to you. The big corporations did that to you. The 1% did that to you. We need to be the party of working people.
Vamos a tratar cada persona con él. We would implement a family case management program so they could be cared for in the community at a fraction of the cost. And then
Immigrants, they do not diminish America. They are America. And I am happy to look at
power to better deal with this problem through the civil process than the criminal process. I have been to.
I'm proud that we've passed a law that prevents local law enforcement from being turned into mini ICE agents. I'm proud to have been the first.
children will die today from gun violence, children and teenagers. And they won't just die in mass shootings. They'll die on sidewalks, they'll die in playgrounds, they'll die in people.
Government needs to go and figure out a way to get the guns that are already out there.
What I think we need to do, guns in the hands of a collector who's had them for decades, who's never fired them, who takes safety seriously.
Last week, someone I knew, Shahad Smith, was killed with an assault rifle at the top of my block last year. For millions of Americans, this is...
School shootings seem like an almost every day or every week occurrence now. They don't make a complete news cycle anymore, no matter the death toll.
I believe that on January 20th, 2021, at 12:01 p.m., we're going to have a Democratic president, a Democratic House, and a Democratic Senate.
90% of the shooters who do school shootings come from the school they're in, and 73% of them feel shamed, traumatized, or bullied. We need to make sure that these kids feel connected to the school. That means a mental health counselor in every single school in the
Democrats, if I vote for them in there, they're going to take my gun away. And even though I agree with you on like these other issues,
Nobody in this field agrees with that, but in states like Connecticut that did that, they saw 40% drops in gun violence and 15% drops in suicides. We need to start having bold agendas on guns.
To get these guns off the street, we have to have a very different relationship between our police and our community. I also want to say there's something that sets, that is for the last 21 years, I've been raising a black son in America. And I have had...
We are the first generation to feel the sting of climate change, and we are the last that can do something about it. Our towns are burning, our fields are flooding, Miami is...
Seawalls for people that are perhaps living in places that they shouldn't be living. Is this a federal government issue that needs to do that? Do they have to move these people? What do you do about that where maybe they're building a house someplace that isn't safe? Who pays to build that?
We moved our local public utility. We began to shift it from coal-fired plants to solar and other renewables, and that has put forward legislation that would reform our policing system in America and make sure that no matter what the color of your skin is, that you're treated the same, including...
The biggest threat to the security of the United States is Donald Trump, and there's no...
One of the most powerful pieces of art in the United States Capitol is the Trumbull painting that a candidate who invited the participation of a foreign power, a president who sought to obstruct the investigation.
It raises the prospect, and the Mueller report raises the prospect, that President Trump could be prosecuted for some of those potential crimes down the line. No U.S. president has ever been prosecuted for crimes.
Infrastructure, these are the issues. These kind of kitchen table, pocketbook issues are actually what most Americans care about. They never ask about the Mueller report. They never ask about it. They want to know how we're going to solve these problems.
They've tried to divide us, who's white, who's black, who's gay, who's straight, who's a man, who's a woman.
Castro, y estoy postulando por presidente de los Estados Unidos. The very fact
And who we must be to each other.
I believe that we can make our government, we can make our economy, we can make our country work.
It's tomorrow night.
We certainly hope you will join us then, but for now, that concludes our coverage of this first Democratic debate from Miami. For Savannah, Jose, Chuck, and Rachel, I'm Lester Holt. Have a good night, everyone.